Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Aunty Lara, and in today's lesson we are going to be treating the summary of the last act in Look Back in Anger, which is the Act 3. Recall that Act 2 ended where Alison leaves the house and Jimmy comes back home to see that Cliff and Alison had gone, and he asked if Elena will not be leaving too. He said some hurtful words and then Leland slaps and they kiss, right? So Act 3 opens with several months after Act 3, and so we see Helena now assuming the position of Alison. So Helena is seen ironing and Cliff and Jimmy are seen reading the newspaper and complaining as before. Jimmy asked Helena if she's going to church in the evening since it is Sunday, and Helena says no. Recall that Helena in Act 2 invited Alison to go to church with her, and that caused some kind of ruckus, yeah? So now we see the same Helena not wanting to go to church. Jimmy asks if it's living in sin that makes her stay away. He's invariably mocking her here that you feel unworthy, you feel like a sinner because you have taken, or you have taken the place of your best friend, and that's why you don't want to go to church. Jimmy and Cliff get into a friendly fight, and in the process, Cliff's shirt gets dirty, and Alison offers to wash it for him. So Alison goes downstairs and Cliff tells Jimmy that he wants to leave the house. He wants to try something different. And Jimmy says that he seems to spend his life saying goodbye. You call that almost everybody that has come to his life, from his father to Otina, to Otina's mom, to Alison, to Cliff at first. Now Cliff came back, and then Cliff is eventually leaving. To Madeline, so he feels that everyone that comes to his life ends up leaving. He goes on to talk about how loyal and generous Cliff has been to him, and he's quite prepared to let him go. Cliff all the while does not like the arrangement, the Helena Jimmy arrangement, because of the soft spots that he has for Alison, and so he's usually not comfortable. And this kind of like just open his eyes to say, I think I want something better in life than this. He tells Cliff that he is worth 6 of Helena to him, just so he knows. Helena comes in with Cliff's shirt and returns it to him. Jimmy tells Helena to get glammed up so they could go out. Jimmy feels much more at home with Helena because he sees someone that could match his energy in Helena. If he gives to Helena, is that Helena slaps him like we saw in Act 2, or shout at him, or all of these things Alison would never do. And so this kind of reaction is what he wanted in Alison that he didn't get. So the fact that he's getting it in Helena makes him very, very comfortable, and makes him love Helena. And so he said he's going to close up the sweet store so that they could go out, watch movies and all. And just as they embraced before going out, Alison comes in and Jimmy leaves to start playing his trumpet. And scene open few minutes later, Jimmy is playing his trumpet. Helena is standing at the table pouring tea, and Alison is sitting on a chair. He sees Jimmy's pipe on the floor and he picks it up, and that brings back memory. And she says, oh, that she was watching a movie, and a man was sitting in front of her and was smoking the pipe, and that the smell of the pipe, the smell coming out from the pipe, reminds him of Jimmy. And then Alison, seeing that everything is fine and rosy between Helena and Jimmy, unlike the cold shoulder or the cold treatments that that exists between himself and Jimmy. She feels very, very bad coming to intrude in something that is working out fine for the two of them. And then she says that she must be mad to have showed up at the house and apologized to Elena, who replied that she doesn't need to apologize. Now, at this point, Elena already knows that she had messed up. I think it took Allison, her friend, to show up for her to know that she shouldn't have done this in the first place. And Allison goes on to say that it was cruel and it was unfair and cruel to return, and she has oftentimes prevented herself from returning, but she finally made it today. Allison covers her face and says, "You must all wish me 1,000 miles away," which, if you ask me, which is what Jimmy wanted. Like, don't just come and start all of this madness all over again. There is peace already, and we're okay with it. But Elena said no, that she has more right to be there than herself. And Allison says she regrets coming over and does not intend to break Elena and Jimmy. Elena says she feels ashamed and that she knows everything she has done was wrong. She tells Allison that she's leaving and that Allison will be a fool to stay. She knows that Allison does not have that kind of zeal and that kind of matriarchal attitude that she has. Allison is not capable of giving it back to Jimmy hot the way she gives it. Okay, so she knows that Allison might not be able to survive staying with someone like Jimmy. She was able to survive this month because she understands him. And Allison protests that Jimmy would be all alone, but Elena insists that he will find another woman. Allison tells Elena that she lost the baby and she wouldn't leave Jimmy. Elena calls Jimmy that he's still playing his trumpet, and Jimmy asks if Allison is still there. You can imagine. He doesn't want to see her. He does not like the fact that their love life is going to be interrupted. And so Elena snaps at him to come. He comes and Elena tells him how that Allison had lost the baby and if it meant anything to him. And he said that he isn't glad to think anyone being ill or in pain, that it was his child too, but he says with a shrug, "It isn't my first loss." Losing someone or something does not mean anything to Jimmy again, because since he has known his right from his left, he had always lost someone. Brooding over a child or a baby is not his first. And Allison replied that, well, it is our own first loss. And then that tells Jimmy that she's going to pack her bags and she's leaving, but that he should not put the blame on Allison, that she realizes that she had been wrong staying back and doing this with him all the while, and it's time for her to leave. However, she says that she loves Jimmy and that she can never find or she can never love anyone else as she has loved him. Now in Act 3, Scene 2, Allison starts to apologize and Jimmy reminds her that she didn't send flowers to Otina's mom burial. I'm sure that you know who Otina's mom is by now. Sending flower would have meant so much. It would even make more sense if she had attended the burial just to please the husband, even though she obviously didn't like Otina's mom. But her not attending the funeral and not sending flower hurt Jimmy. It's just as if she finds little things or her own way of hurting Jimmy, which Jimmy does not like. He goes on to say that the heaviest, strongest creatures in this world happen to be the loneliest, and he considers himself in that situation. He goes on to say, "I may be a lost cause, but I thought if you loved me, it would be better." So we see him being vulnerable here too. It might not amount to anything, but he felt that if she is just capable of loving him, everything would have made sense to him. Allison starts to cry and apologize and tells him that she doesn't want to be neutral, not to be a saint, that she also she also wants to be a lost cause. And she goes on to say that all she wanted to do after realizing that she lost her baby was to die. She says, I never knew what it was like. I didn't know it would be like that. I was in pain and all I could think of was you. She continues, this is what he's been longing for me to feel. This is what he wants to splash about in. And then she goes to say that, and still wailing, Jimmy tells her to stop and goes back to, and goes on. Still wailing, Jimmy tells her to stop and goes on to talk about them being together as bear and squirrel. In Act 1, that is the only time that they tend to live like normal human beings, when they take up or when they escape into the world of animals. I'm going to be your bear and you're going to be my squirrel, you know, and the likes, and they hug. And they hug it out. So now we don't know if Allison has learned her lesson. We don't know. Now, with what has happened to Allison, I feel that she will be more human, and I feel that Jimmy too will be more understanding, because Allison has felt this, at least to a large extent, what pain really is now. So they have something in common, and that is all for Look Back in Anger, Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. In our next lesson, we are going to be looking at the themes and the character analysis. Till I come your way. So till I come your way again, kindly like, comment, share, and do come back for more. Bye.